It's time! UFC Busan. Main event, the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung-jung, taking on Frankie the Answer Edgar. Everyone, I think, wants to see this fight with the exception of Corey Sandhagen, who is supposed to fight Frankie Edgar next month. That fight, as of right now, is still scheduled. That's not going to happen. They're going to have to find a new fight for that, but we're not here to talk about that. We are going to break down the main event, give my pick for the fight, and more importantly, how we're going to approach that on DraftKings. Full card breakdown. To do that for DFS Army, you can become a member at dfsarmy.com. Use the code SNIPER for 20% off. Even more importantly, guys, please like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. Trying to grow it pretty much everywhere. So comment, iTunes, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, especially on YouTube. Appreciate all the support so far. Let's just talk about the fight here. The Korean Zombie is the favorite. He's minus 165. The comeback on Edgar is plus 145. Fight is an over. Fight goes to decision, minus 125. Korean Zombie has got 3 fights back since his long absence from serving in the Korean military. He's 2-1 in those 3 fights. The one he lost was to Yair Rodriguez, where he was literally 1 second away from winning that fight. They did the whole let's throw crazy at the end of the fight, and he got knocked out by that up elbow from Yair. But he was going to win that fight. Other than that, he's got a knockout win against Renato Moicano, which was really impressive. And before that, he came back and he finished Dennis Bermudez. Meanwhile, on the other side, Frankie Edgar's recent fights. Edgar is coming off of the loss to Max Holloway. He beat Cub Swanson, unanimous decision. That was a weird fight. They were on the feet the whole time, and Edgar won it, but that was a terrible DraftKings fight. And before that, he was knocked out by Brian Ortega. The one thing I want to address is the whole Edgar has no chin issue. I was worried about his chin as well after the Ortega fight. I was definitely worried about it. He seems to be just fine. I know Holloway isn't a knockout guy, but the Cub can hit decently hard, and they're at 145. Not saying he's not going to get knocked out here, but I don't think he's super chinny. I mean, it's not something you can put on him. I'm going through. That was, I believe, the only time he had been finished in the UFC was that fight against Ortega, and he walks into a big uppercut, and Ortega's he's a big featherweight. So obviously, he's going to want to grapple in this fight. He's going to want to wrestle. Jung, though, has good takedown defense, 75% takedown defense. The last time he was taken down 5 times by Jose Aldo in the title fight right before his service. So he can be taken down. Has an offensive takedown game as well. Don't think he's going to look to utilize that here. But really, the dude just hits hard, decent volume, has shown good takedown defense. Want to look at the size in this fight. Jung is 5'7", Edgar is 5'6", so usually Edgar is really short. He's not here. Jung will have a 4-inch reach advantage. I think ultimately that's how I see this fight playing out. My pick for this fight is going to be the Korean Zombie, especially with Frankie taking this on short notice. But I will say I was incredibly close to taking Frankie Edgar. And we'll get into more how that plays on DraftKings in a second. In the end, though, I just think that Jung is going to be on his feet long enough. He's the better striker. He could finish Edgar. He absolutely could. He has that path. I just don't think it's super likely, especially early. But I can't say it's out of the question because I do think he's the better striker. He obviously hits hard, and I just think he has enough takedown defense to win 3 of 5 rounds from Frankie Edgar. On the other side, though, Edgar is going to want to grapple. Has shown toughness. The type of guy we typically like to target on DraftKings. By the way, the fight against Cub, that was their second fight against Cub Swanson. And those fights can be weird when guys rematch. Edgar before that, he's getting dominated Yair Rodriguez, 5 takedowns against Jeremy Stevens. Couldn't get Aldo down, and he lost the fight. Actually knocked out Chad Mendez, 5 takedowns against Favor, 7 in his first fight against Cub. And now I'm going back a little bit here, but he can get takedowns. That's what he's going to want to do. He can score well. So I gave my thought for the fight. I do think that Edgar can win some rounds through his grappling. He can control. I just think I think it's a razor close fight. I think the odds they're probably about right, only because of the short notice aspect for Edgar and what he's preparing, and they're fighting in Korea. So they go to the scorecards. You never know when hometown cooking is going to come up. I have the fight in a neutral. If it was on a neutral site, I would shade towards Korean Zombie. Minus 120ish, 130 maybe. The line's a little higher than that for the reasons I gave. So that's how I think the fight is going to go. And on DraftKings, they're priced at I really should have had this pulled up. I believe Korean Zombie is 9,000, and Frankie Edgar is 7,200. So Frankie Edgar to win is on the optimal lineup, lock, guarantee, done. Korean Zombie, if he gets a knockout early, obviously he's on the optimal lineup. If he loses a round or two, if he gets kind of ground out for a round, 9,000 is a hefty price tag. I know he's got 5 rounds to work, but if it's 3-2 or he's battling takedowns, Frankie's got him against the cage, or he doesn't let his hands go as much because he's watching for the reactive shot. I see paths where this fight is not on the optimal lineup, so I'm not going all in here. I have 100% stacking this fight because I'm taking Jung in a 5-round fight. He's active enough. He's live to the knockout. There aren't a ton of dogs I like on this card, so Frankie Edgar has got to be in play because he can win. He's going to look. He's going to look to grapple, and he's 7,200. I'm actually stacking this fight in cash, and it's so close at this price tag. And I mentioned hit on my main point. There's so few dogs I like, and Frankie in a win is on the optimal, whereas Jung there's paths where he's not. Even though I'm taking Korean Zombie, I'm probably going to have more Frankie Edgar. I think he makes for the better DK play, just the style that he fights and the savings that he gives you in a really close fight. I do think he'll probably be the most popular underdog on the card, so worry about the ownership that way. It's so close. I was so close to picking Edgar, and he's going to want to grapple, and there's no other dogs to like. So I'm taking Korean Zombie in this fight, but I think the better DraftKings play is Frankie Edgar, and stack this fight in your cash games. That is my breakdown for the main event of UFC Busan for DraftKings. Again, guys, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at @sniper_DFS. Good luck in your contest. I'll see you next time.